This gaming PC was the most voted for Skytech review on this channel. We have put an insane number of gaming PCs through their paces over the years, and time after time, it's Skytech that keeps rising to the top with the best price to performance value. But we're going to share with you our full experience to help you decide if this specific build is right for you in this 100% honest review of the Skytech Prism 3. This configuration that we have here for you comes with the best gaming CPU, the 9800X3D, and the best gaming GPU, the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5090. I'm going to quickly take you through the unboxing experience and everything else that comes with it. Very thorough gaming and creator benchmarks, overall design and build quality, a breakdown of the internals, thermals, fan noise, overall ease of use, pricing breakdowns, and comparing its price to performance ratios against the competition, and my overall top likes and dislikes. Even if you decide not to purchase this PC after anything that I reveal in this review, just keep watching because I'm also going to be sharing with you some alternative PCs that I recommend for every budget. I'll include links down below for all the products that I mentioned, as well as tag directly on this video or using a QR code if you're watching on a TV. I guarantee that by the end of this video, you will know if this PC is right for you or not. But if you still have any questions after watching this entire video, just shoot me a comment, and if you're publicly subscribed, I guarantee a personal response. But before we dive in, let's rewind and take a quick trip back in time and see what all came in the box. First thing we got in here is a Skytech M1200 gaming mouse. The main buttons have a decent click to them. The scroll wheel is just okay. And the two side buttons, I would say, do feel a bit cheap in the way that they move. Style-wise, I am a sucker for hexagons, and the way that they implemented that into the design, I think looks pretty nice. It also helped my hand from getting too sweaty. Very basic RGB, with breathing being the only animation, and really only 4 color options in general if you want a solid option. Still does look pretty cool in the dark though. Then in this Skytech folder, we've got their typical quality control certificate, a little Skytech thank you card, and lastly, a troubleshooting and maintenance guide. Also included in here is a basic Skytech membrane keyboard with a pretty decently comfortable feel to them, but unfortunately, pretty lame RGB options in my opinion. And then lastly, we've got some Wi-Fi antennas and your typical massive power cable. So as far as the overall design, this PC was built with the Gamdias Neso P1 case, which is one that I've always been a fan of. And I can tell by a recent poll that I just did that you guys feel the exact same way. Nearly 4 times more of you wanted me to review the Skytech Prism 3 versus their newest design, the Prism 4. Usually I am someone that likes the aesthetic of wood panel accents on cases, but I don't really like the way that it looks on the Prism 4. So good thing they kept the Prism 3 in production, but now with the latest CPUs and GPUs. One thing that I'm not a huge fan with the Prism 3 though is its imbalance of fans. The only intake fans on this PC are these 3 at the bottom. The other 7 fans are exhaust. These back 3 fans are usually intakes on most gaming PCs. Because they are exhaust fans on this PC, if you always have your computer on and fans running, you might just remove this restrictive filter on the back. You don't really need to filter air that's exiting your computer, and all it's really going to do is make it harder to remove heat quickly. We're going to show you how all of that affected thermals here in a sec. These top 3 fans are actually part of this PC's AIO liquid cooling system for the CPU. And for those of you new to PC gaming, this is the most important part of keeping your CPU cool. This right here is the cooling block, and it uses a liquid to take the heat that's generated from the CPU and quickly transfer it up through these tubes into a 360mm radiator at the top, where the heat is spread out and then blown out the top. Personally, I don't like the look of that tab just sticking out of the PC, and if you're like me, you're probably just going to cut it off. I do love the fact that both the side and front panels swing open like this though. This makes it incredibly quick and easy to access everything. Another cool feature about this case is that you can actually move the feet from the bottom to the side and have it flip sideways on your desk. That's a pretty creative and unique flexible design choice that I actually appreciate. To the right of our CPU, they included Viper RGB DDR5 RAM at 5600 MHz, two 16GB sticks for a total of 32. Then underneath the CPU, behind this thick metal heatsink, they give you a 4TB Western Digital Blue SN5000 SSD, which is our main drive that our operating system and everything else was installed on. And when we tested the speeds on this one, we got about 5500 megabytes per second read and about 4600 write. This was a little disappointing because most top tier gaming PCs like this one have SSDs with speeds that are closer to 7000 megabytes per second. I will say that it's not going to make a huge difference with load times though. And below that, the most important and most expensive part of this PC are 5090 GPU. The model they included in this build specifically is the MSI Ventus GeForce RTX 5090. It's more of a non-flashy basic design, but I think it fits this case pretty well. And by itself, this GPU will cost about $3,000. One con to this GPU on this motherboard though is that it's just barely too thick for you to be able to actually use the one additional PCIe slot underneath it. And just below that, underneath this very long metal heatsink, you'll get two additional SSD slots for any more high-speed storage that you might want to add in the future. Then swinging around to the back and removing the back panel, you get a couple more slots for two 2.5-inch SATA SSDs or two 3.5-inch mechanical hard drives. And lastly, near the bottom, a non-modular Thermaltake Tough Power GX3 1000 watt power supply. This was kind of disappointing for Skytech to go with a cheaper power supply in such a top-tier premium build. I almost never see a top-tier pre-built with a non-modular power supply. You can see that using a non-modular PSU here contributed to the messier than normal cable management. For the ports on the front, we've got a headphone microphone combo jack, one USB-C and two USB-As, and your power button. On the back, a BIOS flashback button, one HDMI, connectors for your Wi-Fi antennas, 10 more USB-As and two USB 4 Type-Cs, a 2.5G Ethernet port, and then for your audio at the bottom, a high-quality SPDIF, line out and line in. And then on the back of your 5090 GPU, one HDMI and three display ports. Now for the software, the main program they included with this PC is an app called Signal RGB. And I was not a fan of this program when Skytech first started using it a while ago. Very frequently, it was not able to pick up some of the components and nothing was ever in sync. It seems like a lot has changed since then though, because the past few PCs that I tested with that program, they work flawlessly. And this app has some of the most unique RGB animations out of them all. You can technically control fan profiles in here as well to help you with thermals and performance, but you have to pay for that, which I think is kind of ridiculous. Luckily, the motherboard that Skytech used for this PC, the ASRock X870 Pro RS Wi-Fi motherboard, luckily that has a BIOS with much more user-friendly fan presets than most. But even beyond that, as far as overclocking and any other fine-tuning that you might want to do, there's plenty of options for you to tweak manually within the BIOS as well. Now, when it came to the fan noise, these were my results after testing each of the main fan profiles in my studio. A much quieter than normal room with very little ambient noise. In quiet mode, it was just a little over 41 decibels. And then during gaming and performance mode, it brought the fan noise up to around 45.5 decibels. This was about average for when it was idle in quiet mode, but a little louder than average when gaming in performance mode. The frequency of the fans wasn't an annoying high or low pitch or anything like that though, and if you have your gaming volume up, you're not really going to notice it. Now for the thermals, you can see in our thermal imaging time lapse from computer off to full on gaming that as usual we do get some heat built up on the glass, but this time it's not right next to the GPU. It's actually in the front glass panel area now. This is because the hot air is not just getting sucked out the back and top exhaust fans now, but also the front fans as well. If any of you have seen a couple of those cases on Reddit about 5090 GPU connectors melting because of close to 150 degrees Celsius temperatures, I can assure you that was not happening with this pre-built, as you can see in this close-up. Also, detaching the connectors and inspecting them, there were no signs of melting either. The large majority of my thermal testing was spent in actual gameplay. These were our CPU temperatures for several different games at 1080p. You can see that compared to other similar spec pre-builts that these temperatures were about average. And averaging all 1080p gaming temperatures data on many of the past gaming PCs that we've reviewed, this gives us an even better overall perspective on how it stacks up against the competition. Pretty decent overall. This CPU is kept fairly cool even during intense gaming, despite its imbalance of intakes versus exhaust fans. Then jumping into 4K gaming, we organized this chart by the GPU because high resolution gaming puts a lot more pressure on the GPU and eases up on the CPU. Here you can see that the 5090 GPU in this PC PC did get just a little hotter than the competition, most likely due to the imbalance of intakes versus exhaust fans right next to the GPU. Still not a huge deal though, as it was well below throttling limits. Now for the performance and gaming benchmarks, and up next, the most important part of this review, the price to performance ratios. You might find these first few creative benchmarks to be a bit underwhelming, but trust me, just wait until we get to the gaming section. For Cinebench R23, which simulates its 3D rendering power, we got a multi-core score of about 23,000, and then putting it up next to all the others, you can see that this is about the same CPU rendering performance as last gen Intel i7 PCs. Pretty much all gaming PCs with 9800 X3D CPUs were stuck in that range for this test. If you're a creator looking for the best overall multi-core rendering power, the 285K and that Corsair i8300 or the Alienware Area 51 that we just recently reviewed are going to be the best bet for that. Another very helpful test for you 3D renderers is the V-Ray benchmark. And these were our CUDA, RTX, and overall V-Ray performance scores. And as you probably guessed, it did not do too well here either, especially compared to the PCs with the new Intel 285K CPUs. This is a CPU-based rendering test that demonstrates how well a PC can handle the more advanced realistic rendering that takes a lot longer to calculate. The GPU rendering score, though, is for those of you doing a lot of high polygon 3D modeling or real-time viewport rendering and lighting. And this chart really demonstrates how incredibly powerful that 5090 GPU in this PC is. Almost the best performing GPU that we've ever seen for this test. Our Adobe Premiere benchmark was not too exciting though, with a score of only 15,451. Don't get me wrong, this PC is incredibly powerful for gaming, but if you only need a PC for editing, motion graphics work, or animation, this is not the best choice for that. And as you can imagine, the Corsair Vengeance i8300 and Alienware Area 51 were at the top for this test with their Intel 285K CPUs. For 3D Mark, which is a pretty good benchmark used to predict a computer's overall game ability, you can see here that it was pretty average compared to other top-tier 5090 builds. I know, actual gaming benchmarks are probably what you guys care the most about though. These were our average FPS numbers with their 1% lows that we got for several games at their highest presets at 1080p. This is pretty impressive considering how high these graphic settings were cranked up. Then putting the overall average gaming FPS up next to many of the other recent pre-built PCs, you can see that it was right there next to the Corsair PCs that we recently reviewed, which are a bit more expensive. And this chart shows how these next-gen PCs compare to previous gen. For all of you eagle eyes out there, yes, these average FPS numbers are different for those exact same PCs that you saw on the last chart. I benchmark a lot more games now than I used to with last-gen PCs. So to keep it fair, I removed those additional games from these averages. And this actually put the Skytech Prism 3 just barely at the top. Now with the best average FPS that we've ever seen at this resolution. Then at 1440p, as we start to rely more on the power of the GPU, this PC just barely slipped behind the Corsair Vengeance A7500 that we just recently reviewed. But then at 4K, this Skytech Prism 3 again was back on top with the best average FPS that we've ever seen at this resolution. And these are the more specific FPS for each game at the highest graphic presets. This is actually pretty insane. Even the lowest 1% FPS with Cyberpunk, a game with some of the most intense graphic settings, even that can still push 75 FPS at 4K. That means that this computer can render 8 million pixels 75 times per second minimum on one of the most power-hungry games out there. About 170 FPS with Call of Duty Black Ops 6 on average, and 200 with Fortnite. Remember to click on my link in the description, this link in the corner, or this QR code to see all of my raw gameplay benchmarks with all the live stats and exact graphic settings used for each game. Now, as far as factoring the price to performance of this PC, right now at the time of this recording, this PC just dropped to $4,800, which is now the lowest price that I've seen for a pre-built with a 5090 GPU. And as you can imagine, our benchmarks proved that this gave it the best price to performance value for a top tier 5090 PC for both 1080p and 1440p gaming. The less expensive PCs above it were nowhere near as fast. And for those two resolutions, we aren't really utilizing that expensive 5090 GPU yet. This 4K chart is where it gets interesting. This PC moved way up the chart. A much better value at this resolution, even compared to many budget-friendly PCs with not nearly as much power as this one. Sadly, that Alienware Area 51 that we just recently reviewed is no longer a good deal for a PC with a 5090, as that one just went up by $600. Even the Corsair Vengeance A7500 with a 5090 is priced better than that one now. But if you don't need this much power and you're understandably at an entirely different price point, these are my recommendations for every budget. I'll also include links down below in the comments and description for all of them, as well as tagged directly on this video or using a QR code if you're watching on a TV. If your budget is closer to $3,000, then I would get this Skytech King 95 with the 9800X 3D and 5080 GPU. I really like that one when I reviewed it, and this version that I'm recommending today is about 3 times faster than that one. If you like the peace of mind of double the warranty at 2 years and double the return period at 60 days and slightly higher quality components, then I would go with the 5080 version of the Vengeance A7500 that I just recently reviewed for about $3,500. If you need to be closer to $2,000, then your best bet would definitely be that AVG PC Whirlwind that I just recently reviewed with AMD's new 9070 XT GPU. As a more budget-friendly PC, it's not the fastest overall by any means, but this one actually had the absolute best price-to-performance ratio that we've ever seen at every resolution. It is in really high demand right now, so if that goes out of stock, then I would get this Skytech Omega also with AMD's new 9070 XT GPU, but this one also with the 7800X 3D CPU. This one's going to perform just slightly better than that AVG PC, it's just a little bit more expensive. If you absolutely have to be under $1,000 or you're just now getting into gaming PCs and you want your graphics to at least match that of a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, then a semi-decent option would be this ABS Cyclone Aqua for about $900. That's the bare minimum that I would recommend for semi-decent graphics settings though. Overall, my least favorite things about this PC are its use of a GPU that covers its one and only extra PCIe slot, the imbalance of intakes versus exhaust fans, and the non-modular power supply. And my favorite things, its overall design and versatility with those dual swinging doors on the front, its ease of use, and most importantly, its gaming price to performance. Okay, so I was about to post this video with just a quick caveat in the description, but I think it's better for me to just do a quick video insert. Make sure that your BIOS is updated to 3.25 if you get this PC, and I'll include another link down below on where to get that. People on Reddit had issues with this motherboard harming their CPU over time. ASRock says that this update fixes that issue. The PC that I got actually came with 3.2, and when I upgraded to 3.25, there was no difference in performance. If this issue made you feel at all uncomfortable though, please do not purchase this PC. Choose something else on my list or check out my other reviews. If you do decide to purchase this PC or any of the others that I mentioned, then please remember to use my affiliate links in the comments and description below, or tag directly on this video, or using a QR code if you're watching on a TV, as I get a small commission at no cost to you for every single purchase made. It's actually a major factor in keeping this channel going and getting better and better for you. Also, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with notifications turned on to stay up to date with all of my latest tech and gaming PCs. PC gaming is awesome, but trust me, please do not let it consume your life. What helps me mentally is getting outside, eating healthy, staying active, and spending more time with my family. Also, studies have shown that reading the Bible at least 4 times a week can massively boost your mental health, and I can vouch for that. And if you are a little skeptical about the Bible, then check out the book or documentary, The Case for Christ.